7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Welcome into the next edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. Sitting here in the virtual Zoom studio, myself, Spike, and Token Tony. We don't care how Spike is. Token, what's going on with you?
Not much. Just enjoying life, doing some cooking, actually.
Oh, did you learn a new skill?
Something like that. No, I've been doing a lot more of that lately.
Spike, did you learn any new skills in the quarantine?
Shit.
Woodworking?
Yes. Yes. I built my desk. I built barn doors. I am building a coffee table. I'm building a workbench after that. So yes, I have learned an actual skill during this quarantine.
There you go. I'll insert like some kind of like, what do you call those? Like when like TV shows record some canned applause for Spike.
Appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
Oh, clap.
When the zombie apocalypse hits, I'll actually have a useful skill.
Yeah, you'll have a mega desk that they can just eat through.
Oh, they won't be able to eat through it. Even if they wreck the house, the desk
Well,
will still be
he
standing.
just grab a 2x4, nail some nails in, and
He just
he'll have a
loves to
weapon.
trip over my lines when I'm trying to make a joke. And he
was there a joke in there?
Run right through it like a.
Hey, I punched before the punchline.
God almighty.
My name's Token, and I ruined the punchline. So anyways, it's been about a week since we've convened, and I would say, to be honest, in the sports world, not much has really happened. We've gotten the return to play, which we discussed earlier with the NHL. The NBA has now kind of come together on an agreement to return their season and finish. We'll talk about both of those in this one. Obviously, I think this is a unanimous decision, but I would say we're all most excited to see the NHL return and not the NBA.
Yes.
I'm most excited to see the golf return, though.
Yes, but Spike didn't want to talk about that today.
I know. Which returns next week, though. If anybody was worrying about that.
Yes, you and I will do a golf odds podcast before the Colonial next week.
Done.
So get excited about that. We don't have Fake Token anymore. I heard through the grapevine he does not live in Las Vegas anymore. So, Spike, good luck getting your money.
Oh, fuck, that's right. He still owes me, doesn't he? I think it was only $20. I think he mostly settled up for the.
Doesn't Token owe you money?
No,
Yeah,
I paid off. I thought I paid off.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. You did pay off because we had the other thing going on.
That sounds sexual.
Yeah, the other bet.
Who
No,
dies
you're right.
first?
You did pay up. It was the other chuckle fuck there that that didn't pay up.
Hey, we're square. What are you talking about?
Ah.
There was no
Yeah,
joke.
you're right. We are square.
It's like there's no joke here. That's fact.
Yeah, no, you're no. I was when I
Joke's
said the
on
other
him now.
when I said the other chuckle fuck, I was talking about Fake Token.
See, we replaced Fake Token with Bobby, who's Spike's favorite
Oh,
drunk uncle.
fucking Bobby 8 Chins.
He's like Uncle Buck, just the skinnier version.
Oh, Bobby's good people. Anyways.
Yeah.
All right, so the NHL is back, and while we talked about all of the ways that the playoffs will be seeded, we now have more information about the number of games. We now have more information about matchups, tiebreakers, etc. It has been said that the qualifying round will be 5-game series, including the round robin, which I think 5 games is a bit much, but unless they're just going to play – actually, they're going to play 3 games, right?
Ooh.
Well, what is a round robin? You play everybody once, right?
Yeah, I mean,
round robin's everybody once, yeah.
Okay,
So
I didn't know if it was like a 2. All right,
Should be best of 3.
So you're going to play best of 3 against every single team?
It should be like 1v1 3 times. It'd be like in the Olympic style.
You lost me.
So
I just figured the Knights, the Blues.
Say your team.
Who is it? The Knights, the Blues, the Stars, and the the Bruins. Is that who's the 4?
Yeah. Say you're the Knights, you play each of those teams once, and then the team with the best record will move on from there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I thought you were saying you play each of them the best of 3. I'm like, well, that seems very long.
Well, it'll be for seeding that part, and then after that, then.
Okay, so the fact of the matter is you have the round robin, you have 5-game series in the 5 through 12 matchups, and then we go to traditional format of 7-game series. Obviously, that is going to push the start of next season back. We all agree on that, correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think hockey should take an opportunity, and we talked about this last couple podcasts. I think hockey and maybe basketball should take an opportunity to get as far away from football as far as TV goes as possible.
Yeah, I mean, based on how the seasons are going to end, I think that's partially right. I mean, everybody will be more excited to see the playoffs of these sports than probably week 1 through week 4 of the NFL season.
Well, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. The reason I'm just saying is I think both those sports could end in August, realistically.
Based on the timelines that they have given, they might start in August.
Yeah, well, remember when these schedules, and the leagues traditionally started playing during this time, they were trying to avoid baseball because baseball was king.
Right.
Now, over the last, couple of decades, the NFL has taken over everything, and now the NBA and NHL have to compete against the NFL, which, you can feel the energy in Golden Knights games on Sundays when the Knights are playing at 5 o'clock. The building is dead. It's because everybody's been tired from watching 7 straight hours of football already. So they don't have the energy left. So I think you're right. I think getting away from the NFL is probably the right move for both of these leagues.
I mean, especially in, you start this season in January, what is an average season for the NHL? October to
October,
June?
April for regular season plus 2 months for playoffs.
So you're talking almost 9-10 months. You could probably condense that a little bit. Do you think that hockey, I don't know about basketball, but I'm sure I could probably rope this in. Do you think hockey and basketball should not necessarily play back-to-back, but they should play a little closer? I feel like hockey sometimes you play a back-to-back and then you're off for 5 days. I feel like sometimes that happens with basketball too. Do you think we could have a situation where those two associations play their games in a more condensed amount of time, kind of like baseball, where they play virtually every day?
Realistically, I don't see it because I don't see the player association probably agreeing to that, unfortunately.
Yeah, that seems tough in a sport as physical as hockey, where there's such wear and tear on the players getting banged around every day.
Which is funny because we don't have any load management issues in hockey as we do in basketball.
Yeah.
But I just feel because, you're right. You could start the season sometime in January. Let's just use hockey. We'll take basketball aside for right now. You can start the season in January. You have a month of football. Really, it's playoff football, where the first month of the season, you're not really sweating hockey too much anyways. But then, I mean, you're not competing with the XFL. You shouldn't be, at least right now. And, yeah. I mean, if you're going to try to go up against anybody, baseball is your best beacon of hope right now to try to compete.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I get the situation you brought up last time about, the ice in the arenas. But, again, I still got to feel strongly that if that's the biggest challenge they face, then they need to step it up. And I think –
No, I agree.
I think both leagues would probably benefit from switching this up, this calendar. I mean – so if we take a 9-month season, we finish in September, so we have a month of playoff football and a month of the first regular season. I think one of these teams, one of these leagues has got to be daring and try to go for it. Especially, I think it's got to be hockey because they can't even compete with basketball right now either.
Right, and
they're on the same timeline.
And I think Bettman has the ability to, or the wherewithal and the clout to try something new because he's been entrenched. He's tried a bunch of different things. He's tried to make the game better. He's tried to expand the game and everything else. So I think if he says, hey, I want to try something new, he has that sort of political capital to be able to do that.
Well, not only that, I mean, he's got the biggest opportunity right now. Let's say the conclusion of this season starts in July, finishes, mid-September, early October. They could literally have that couple month off with the training camp and start the season mid-January. They could literally have the experiment right in front of them this year.
Yeah.
And then potentially adjust it if needed further down the road.
Well, yeah, they could find opportunities. I think the NHL has a prime opportunity to readjust itself. And especially, you're talking about how, obviously we know it's a winter sport, it's on ice, but I mean, Tell me people in Manitoba, tell me people in Minnesota wouldn't like in the middle of July to go to a freaking Wild game or a Jets game.
Oh, hell yeah, they would. I mean, skip the humidity and the heat that they have for 2 to 4 months at a time.
I mean, I've seen situations like, I think the Wild played the Knights one year when every fan was snowed out of the stadium. They couldn't even get in. They had to play in front of like 11 fans.
Pretty much, yeah. There was even a game, I want to say, in Boston or New York. This is going back like 50-plus years, where the refs couldn't even get to the arena, and they had to use a player from each team until the refs got to the arena.
I don't remember that one. That's an interesting. I remember
I think that was in the 70s.
I remember the Carolina Hurricanes using Toronto emergency goaltender. I remember that, but
yeah,
I don't remember the player officials. But I just, for me, I think that's the way. Maybe I should just email Gary Bettman or I'll tweet at him, see what he says.
There you go.
He's not busy, right?
I can't imagine he's got much on his plate right now.
Just some chocolate chip cookies, courtesy of Spike.
Exactly. I'm sending them all to him, believe me.
Gary Bettman, here's some cookies from some guy in Vegas.
Yeah.
What do you think about eliminating the bracket style right now and going to a seeding format for the NHL? I kind of dig it. I think it rewards the teams that played the best, who happen to continue in advance, and it doesn't give us matchups like we consistently see in. Now we still may see these, but like Toronto and Boston seem to play every year for the last 3 or 4 years. Boston and Tampa, we get that in the second round. We might get that, we might get that later. We might actually get some different matchups based on some things happening that we didn't expect in the qualifying round. I kind of like the reseeding format.
You mean like the best seeded team playing the worst seeded team, or?
Yeah, so like when we get past the qualifying round, they'll reseed. So if the Blackhawks make it, they're going to face the highest seeded team from the qualifying round, which we have VGK, Colorado, Dallas, and St. Louis. I could be wrong about those 4.
Something like that, yeah.
Pretty confident on 3 of those. I don't know about Colorado. But the point is, if Colorado ends up being the top seed in the West, and Chicago advances past Edmonton,
they would play each other.
Yeah, Colorado, the 1, would play the 12, and it would be a matchup we may not have expected to see, especially being that they're both in the Central. It could happen, but if a wild card in Chicago may not have gone traditional bracket, may have gone to the Pacific Division bracket. I mean, anything is possible is what I'm saying. And we kind of hopefully stay out of this divisional like rivalry matchups, which I know the NHL did to create those rivalries, which is partly how the VGK Sharks rivalry exists today. But I'm kind of interested in seeing how the seeding format at least goes for this year. It may not stick, but I'm curious to see how this one would work.
I would be in favor best seeded team remaining picks any lower seeded team remaining to play.
We've talked about that. That would be awesome, but I don't think
that would be most ideal. But
that would be cool. I think
if not that choice, then I agree.
It does run over you when you talk. I just noticed.
Yeah,
really.
What about you?
I know.
It's kind of impressive sometimes.
In an unorthodox year, I think the picking your own opponent would just be par for the course with all this. Okay, go ahead, Token. You may go.
Right.
And now he's got nothing to say.
I was muted.
Were you? Because it didn't show it on there.
It was for a split second, but I mean, obviously that would be the most ideal, crazy exciting thing to happen in the NHL. But if that doesn't happen, then
There's zero chance that happens.
highest remaining seed plays lowest remaining seed throughout the rest of the playoffs in each conference until the Stanley Cup.
I mean, it's how they do it in football, and I kind of like, that situation.
Yes.
It also kind of takes away the I don't know what the right word is. It kind of takes away the ability to kind of know who you're playing. Like, in the situations where we set up the bracket format, I know if I beat team A, then I'm going to face the winner of these two teams. Well, that might not be the case with these qualifying rounds. I mean, we don't know if a 12 seed is going to advance. We don't know if a 8 seed is going to advance. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of elements of surprise, and you can't prepare as much for this, and this can make the playoffs more exciting.
All right, Spike, who you betting on? You got any bets down yet?
I still have my futures bets on Arizona and the Islanders to win the Stanley Cup that I put in prior to the season starting. I had my bet of the Stars winning the Central Division refunded. And no, I think that was the only one that got refunded. Because I think that was the only divisional futures bet that I made.
So it looks like – oh, go ahead. I know you're –
Yeah, in the current format that we have, I have not put any – I don't know if anybody's taking action on this as far as anything other than, winning the Stanley Cup overall. But I would be surprised if Chicago and if Montreal make it out of the first round. Those are the two teams that I think are guaranteed to fail in those qualifying rounds.
Yeah, I would most agree with you. But you take the Blackhawks, and you got an older team that I don't know if they necessarily were even trying to play for the postseason, and now you've put them in with a 3 or 4 month layoff. It could surprise some people. Corey Crawford's got some time off. I mean, it's going to be tough playing the Oilers. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to be an easy series.
Well, and a good chunk of their success was based on the fact that when Crawford was having a shit time, they could put in Leonard. And now that Leonard's on Vegas, they don't have anybody else they can rely on.
They got Malcolm Subban, baby.
Oh, for fuck's sake. And Crawford is just I don't see him as the answer. I don't see him as somebody that is has the ability to carry this team through a team like Edmonton, let alone deep into the playoffs. So I think they're one and done in this format.
So by that logic, the best of 5 series, the Oilers are only minus 160 to win.
Well, it's not a terrible price.
Yeah, William Hill's got all the best of 5 series available.
They do,
Yeah,
okay.
I just looked up, yeah.
Yeah, they got all the best of 5 series available, and you can bet on the top overall seed in the East and the top overall seed in the West. The Bruins are 2-1, and Lightning plus 240, Capitals 3-1, Flyers 4-1 to be the top seed in the East. And the top seed of the West, Golden Knights are the faves at 220, Avalanche 250, Blues 260, Stars 400. Tell you what, the Stars, I don't know. That's the question about trying to bet these top seeds, though, is who's motivated? I mean, you're talking about a short training camp, getting back into it, and now you're playing effectively a round robin that doesn't – I mean, yes, it means something, but it doesn't mean everything. It's not an elimination series.
Mm-hmm.
So determining motivation might be a factor in trying to bet those two options, the East and West top overall seeds. I mean, home field advantage is obviously great, but, this is such – with no fans, this is kind of unprecedented.
Yes. Yeah, out of the East, in my perspective, I would like Washington in that price 3-1. I think that's what you said.
Yeah, Washington, the Capitals are 3-1.
I think that's reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, effectively, all you got to do is pretty much go 2-1 in these games, and I think you're good.
2-1, and hopefully the next best team does 2-1, and you beat them head to head.
Well, there's that. Here's the round robin tiebreaker. Top 4 teams will be broken down by regular season points percentage. Seeding order for these teams will be the same throughout the Stanley Cups. So I would assume it's going to be head to head, and then maybe goals scored if there is even a if they're even
Yeah,
as a
probably
tiebreaker.
be goals for, and then goals against would be the second or third.
Well, I guess head to head would clear it all.
Head-to-head's obviously the first.
Yeah, well, if they're saying regular season points percentage, is that part of the tiebreaker procedure, or is that just as?
Ooh.
It says ties in the round robin will be broken by regular season point percentage. So actually, it won't be head to head. It would just be if there's a tie between the Bruins and anybody, the Bruins get the seed.
Wow.
And if there's a tie between anybody that's not the Bruins, if there's a tie between the Lightning and the Capitals, the Lightning would get the seed because they have the higher winning percentage in what was the regular season play.
Yeah, well, it's point percentage, not winning percentage. I don't know if that makes a difference because I haven't looked at the.
It makes a slight difference, but
yeah, so I can't imagine.
Well, what is point percentage then? I guess
point percentage is total number of games versus total number of games where the team earned at least 1 point. So it's wins and overtime losses would be point percentage.
So Boston.
I thought it was. I thought it was total number of points of total possible number of points. So you're allowed 2 points per each game. So you say you played 60 games, that would be a maximum total points of 120. And say you had 100 at that point, that would be once or.
Well, like here you go. The Boston's played 70 games. They have 100 points. So by your logic token, they have 100 out of a possible 140 points.
Yes.
Which they would be over Tampa and Washington and Philly by far. But here, Washington has 90 points in 69 games, and Tampa has 92 points in 70 games. So effectively, Washington played one less game. I want to kind of Google this here real quick and see what.
And this is the problem: is that when the season ended,
I think Tampa has that tiebreaker.
Why do I fucking?
I don't know.
What is point percent? Yeah, Token's actually right. Calculated divided points by maximum possible points. So I don't. It's fucking. I don't know where the calculator is on this computer, but that would be fun to figure out. So if 69 games is what 138 points.
Yeah.
So they have 92 out of a possible 138. They have basically 2/3, or they have 90 out of a possible 138. So they have 0.65. And Tampa has 92 out of a possible 140.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same number. It's literally the same number. That's going to be a fun one to figure out. Just beat everybody and don't worry about it.
Hi, Spike.
Spike's pulling out his hair.
Yeah. Time to shave.
All right. So the NBA, we'll switch over here real quick as we got a couple minutes left in the podcast. This one I'll admit I haven't read a ton about, but this 22-team format seems to be the popular opinion among the league, with the exception of the Portland Trailblazers. The vote went through 29-1. The Trailblazers said no thank you, which is weird. So I'm going to try to break this down. Basically, 13 Western Conference teams, 9 Eastern Conference teams will play 8 regular season seeding games, and there's a possible play-in tournament for the 8th seed, all being held at the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, which I don't know if you guys have ever been to the Wide World of Sports complex. I would say if they're not going to play it in Las Vegas, then this place, even with Las Vegas being an option, this Wide World of Sports complex is phenomenal. So I think other than the gambling aspect, which may be for the best, the NBA is probably smart to do it at the Walt Disney World Resort.
Yeah, I mean, the ABC partially has ownership, I believe, in the NBA, if I'm not mistaken. And
was that it? Were there more to that?
No, not really. I mean, it's just kind of surprising, though. Like, they would allow 13 teams out of the West and 9 out of the East, though. I mean, you would think it'd be 11-11 or maybe 12-10.
I'm guessing the reason they did that, Spike, is because there realistically could be 13 teams that were playoff contenders. I'll have to look at the standings in the NBA because I mean, let's be honest, we don't follow the NBA like we do the NHL and other leagues. Let's see, the Western Conference. You could make an argument that, well, I guess you could really make an argument that.
I mean,
I guess 13
really,
teams were there.
It's just about there were, if what I'm looking at is correct, in the East there were 6 teams that had clinched a playoff spot, 3 that were in contention, and the rest of the teams had been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
Right.
And in the West, it was 6 that had clinched. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. What is that? 7 that were in contention for those last 2 spots, and then only 2 that had been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
Right. Yeah, all the way down to Phoenix. I mean, you're talking about a team who's 26-39, Spike, who might be able to make the playoffs.
And that's always been the case in the NBA, that we see these weak teams as 6, 7, and 8 seeds that, like, sometimes at best they're at exactly 500.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's one of the reasons why, the NBA is kind of a joke, because we've never seen an 8 seed beat a 1 seed in the first round of the playoffs.
Yes, we have, but go on.
No, we haven't.
Golden State beat Dallas.
When was this?
Dirk was on the team, and then the Golden State, before they were who they are now, Golden State, Baron Davis, Monte Allen. Anyways, it's not important. It's back when I followed basketball.
Oh, okay.
It's happened like 2 or 3 times, but
yeah. So
it's
in any
not
event,
common.
Yeah, it's not common, and they haven't won a I can't imagine they've won a championship anyway. If they've ever done that, where they have in the NHL a couple of times. So in scenarios like that, the first round of the playoffs of the NBA, I've never thought it needed to be 7 games. It should have gone back to the best of 5, but whatever.
Agreed. That's money.
But yeah, for these teams, it's just a matter of, since they weren't mathematically eliminated when the shutdown started, they were still had the ability to get into this thing. It would have been unfair for the league to try to push them out. So I can see why keeping them in makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, the big thing that a lot of people were talking about on Sports Talk Radio of the reason why they extended it out so far is that New Orleans, the Pelicans, are in the 10 slot right now. And who plays for the New Orleans Pelicans? That's must-see TV. Zion Williamson.
Oh, that's his name.
They want Zion to have every opportunity to be in the playoffs, because if you have a playoff with LeBron, you have a playoff with Kawhi, you have a playoff with Zion, you have playoffs with James Harden and Russell Westbrook, like, it only makes for better. And I think, honestly, that's why they did it. I mean, theoretically, you're right. Phoenix and San Antonio are not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, but I mean, let's see, they've played 65 games, so that's 15 games left, and Phoenix is 6 games back of the 8th seed with 4 more teams in between them. I mean, yes, they're not mathematically eliminated, but what do you put their percentage? 2% chance?
It's tiny, but it's there. It's
there, yeah, I guess so.
Saying there's a chance.
Oh, Jesus.
I kind of want Phoenix or some scrub team that wasn't supposed to make the playoffs. I kind of want them to win the NBA championship now, even though that's not how the NBA works, pretty much. Talent usually prevails over the course of 7 games. But, yeah, I mean, I guess with the East, I mean, you got, like you just said, Brooklyn is the 7th seed. They're 30-34. They're 4 games under 500. Orlando is the 8th seed. They're 30-35. And we're talking about the 9th seed Washington Wizards, who are 24-40.
Yep, still in it.
These are your playoff teams there, Token. These are your playoff teams in the NBA.
Are the Pistons in it?
They are not. They are eliminated. They are 20-46. But why not? Throw them in there.
Hey, what about the Red Wings?
The Red Wings were unfortunately eliminated, sir. Sorry, no Detroit teams will be participating in extended play.
I think they were eliminated from the postseason before the new year.
They were. Well, I mean, it wasn't before the new year, but it was damn close.
Probably
Yeah.
pretty close, yeah. So
It was definitely before the shutdown.
yeah,
Oh,
I gotta
yeah.
think that the NBA really, and you can't fault them. I guess the only reason I say that the NHL has more leeway to do something like this, and I want to check to make sure my facts are backed up here, but every team that they put in the playoff is at least above 500. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, every
In the
team in the
NHL.
playoff, at least for wins or losses. Now, if you count the overtime losses, some of these teams are obviously below 500, but those are 1 point each. So every team that they've put in a playoffs, wins and losses, total, they are above 500. So it's hard for me to really root for a 24-40 Washington Wizards team to win an NBA championship, even though I want to see that happen just because of the chaos that it might give. So, all right. Well,
Pretty awesome to see.
Is everything delayed to you? Is that what it is?
Probably. I don't know. I thought it was on your end. I mean, you're sounding like you're going in and out. Like,
Am I? Do I sound bad?
kind of. I mean, me and Spike sound like we're similar. So, I don't know.
Fair enough. All right. Well, since I forgot to do it before, let's thank the sponsors because we got off on a super weird tangent in the beginning of the show. So, without further ado, let's thank 12 Ounce Sports Network, where you can catch us at 12ozsportsradio.com. Also, Sea Giant, promo code 12 Ounce Sports for your discounted sporting event, concert, and theater tickets. Also, chaipoker.net, Wicked Cuts beef jerky, and Fat Teas barbecue. We'll put all that up in the buy a token. We'll put all that up in the link. Good news before we log off here, though. We are now live on Zingo TV. I will be uploading our podcast so you can see our ugly mugs on Zingo TV, channel 761, either on your Fire Stick or download the app on iPhone or Android, ZINGO TV. Sign up for an account using the promo code 120Z. It is free, no charge. So that helps out the station, helps out our show, and you can watch our ugly mugs. So we appreciate you listening. For Spike, for Token Tony, I am Aaron. We will catch you on the next one.